Hello, everybody, once again, and welcome to another edition of the Tefillah Awareness Shuir. My name is R Yehudah Schwartz, and for those who are watching this for the first time, we welcome you into this wonderful, amazing journey in which we help, hopefully, as many people as we can, change their mindsets of how we view davening as a whole. Our tafkid of the Shuir, once again, is to simply create the awareness for everyone to be quiet in shul, follow the halachos of the Shulchan Aruch, coming on time to shul, not running out in the middle, and of course, no talking in shul, and so on and so forth. Baruch Hashem, this movement is gaining traction, and that is a helping that we should be able to continue to gain this traction, hopefully for many months and years to come, Bez Hashem. Also, tonight, this year is being recorded the night before Tisha B'Av, and hopefully Mashiach should come very soon, Mitzvah Hashem, and we should be able to give a shir tomorrow night, or the second edition. If not, then she'll do it later in the week. The other thing is also this is being recorded before Tisha B'Av, Ben Izman season about to come, vacation season about to come as well. We'll try our best to be doing shirim still, Mitzvah Hashem, over the next few weeks. It does get a little tougher. But as I mentioned earlier in the summer, that the schedule will change here and there as weeks go by. But eventually, at some point, there will be a hiatus for about a week towards the end of the summer before we resume regular shiur. This is shiur number 41. And before we start again, this shiur is, gotta mention this, KTYT.org is the place to take on kabolos and being able to just simply change your mindset how we daven. As I mentioned before, take a kabbalah. There's different various kabbalas you can take upon. Once again, KTYT.org. We're up to Siman Yud Zayin now in this shiur, the first shiur of the week, and it's going to discuss now Hilchos Kriyas Shema. So, regarding the dinim of saying Shema. Now, there is a lot of halachas in this. There are 10 sifim on this. The goal for this week's shiur is to do the first two, Mr. Hashem, the first two, and hopefully be able to do it in other weeks subsequently. It's a good chance we have to, when there's a hiatus, Mr. Hashem, we still might be in the middle of this siman. So here we go. Siman Yud Zayin, Sif Aleph and Bais. Sif Aleph. Hascholas Zman Kriyas Shachas Hu Chamoy Zman Tefillin. So actually, before I even do this, I should give introduction to this first, and then we're going to go into the halachas. There's a daraisa obligation to recite Shema twice, once in the evening and once at night and one in the morning. This is it says in the Devarim Perik Vav Pasuk Zayin. In the first parak of Shema, it states Vishnantam levanecha dibat bom Vishnantam bevasecha v'chavarech shavchu v'kamecha. You should teach them through thoroughly to your children, and you should speak of them while you sit in your home and while you go on the way, and when you lie down and when you rise. The Chomim they explain these phrases when you lie down and when you rise to mean that this passage must be recited at night and at a time when people lie down to go to sleep, and in the morning people wake up. The Shema consists of these three passages. The first one, which begins with Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Here are Yisrael. Hashem is our God. Hashem is the one and only. Consists of the Pesukim and Devarim Perik Vav Pasuk Dalet through Tes. By reciting this passage, and especially the first one, we accept upon ourselves the sovereignty of heaven. The second one, which begins with the words V'hoim Shemaya, which we'll mention will be in next week's parasha, Parashat Ekev. This is Parashat Eschanan that we're giving the shiur in. Next is Ekev, and Parashat Ekev we read this in Perek Yud Aleph Pesukim Yud Gimel through Chof Aleph. This passage too includes an injunction to teach them to your children when you lie down, when you rise. And then the third one, which we read in Pasha Shalach, says Vayomer, and with Kisei Tzitzis, it says in Bemidbar, Perek Tesvav, Pasuk, Lamed Zayin through Mem Aleph, which mentions Yitzis Mitzrayim. The Chacham stood that these passages be recited in the Shema in order to fulfill the mitzvah, the Reisig mitzvah of Mem Yitzis Mitzrayim. Now, here are the halachas, the first two. Haschal Zman Ki Yishma Shachos, the beginning of the time of saying Shema, Chul K'may Zman Tefillin, the same as the earliest time of Zman Tefillin. This is our brackets here, La'el, Simen Yud, Sif Beis. Next, the Nimshach, Zman Ad Revius Hayoim, the time of this saying it takes until the fourth hour of the day has passed. Now, although most people will rise earlier, since royalty would rise at this time, it can still be considered ukamecha, and when you arise. Kvidim Shabura, Simen Nun Ches Sif Dalet. However, one can fulfill his obligation saying Shema until this time. It should not be delayed, but it should recite as early as possible. Weiter. Bein Shahayom Aruch or Bein Shem Katzar. This is calculated according to the particular length of each day, whether it's a long or it's short. Basically, when it's winter or summer, doesn't really matter. So accordingly, on a short winter day, a fourth of this is completed closer to sunrise when it's the longer summer day. Later in this sif, the time of Shema ends earlier in the summer because sunrise is so early. These calculations are made through Shar Zmaniyos, hours, which length are determined by the season. These variable hours are the units obtained by dividing the daily hours into 12 equal segments. Each segment is then referred to as an hour. The time of this recitation of Shema ends at the end of three of these hours, which is the fourth of the day. Next, V'nechshav hayoim. For the purpose of this calculation, the length of the day is calculated minat shachar ad tzek chovim, from the first light of dawn to the appearance of the stars, which means nightfall, meaning the rise of dawn, meaning when the three stars come up. This refers to the first day rays of dawn that appears on the eastern horizon. According to the main shitas, however, this term refers to the spread of light across the entire eastern horizon, which occurs a bit later. Also, it's defined the moment when the three mid-sized stars become visible in the day. So the period of the Kitzer, which calculates the day from Alot Shech until nightfall, is that the Magen Avraham. But the Mishnah recites the period of the Kuro, that the day is calculated from sunrise, which is later than Alot Shechar, until sunset, which is earlier than nightfall. Therefore, a day of each hour of that day is calculated according to the Kuro, or Shur that is calculated according to the Magen Avraham. Now, mitzvah mevchar, the optimal way to perform this mitzvah, the Kuros kivisikim. So we say it in manner of sikin. Chamas and mitzvahs, the more people who will cherish these mitzvahs, shayim and chamas will arrange the davening so they will rise the Shema. Me'ad karam netzachama, slightly before sunrise, kedei shisan ki yishma v'chasei em netzachama. So they can conclude the recitation of Shema and it's coming bracha with exactly at sunrise. Mitzvah at Tefillah, and to merely begin the davening Shema Esrei Amidah. One is able to do this and succeeds in beginning Shema Esrei exactly at sunrise. His reward is very great. Now, what's to say in the notes here? Sunrise is generally defined as occurring when the orb, the little light where the sun is first visible on the horizon. But says in Mishnah Berurah, where the wording suggests a slightly earlier definition. This significantly later than the earliest possible time for saying Shema mentioned earlier, Mishiakar. But the optimal time to daven Shema Esrei is exactly at sunrise. That's let's say when sunrise is 6:40. 6:40 is the time to say to start Shema Esrei. In addition, the last of the blessings accompanying the Shema Gar Yisrael must be recited immediately prior to the beginning of the Shema Esrei. Therefore, One who wishes to recite Shemona Esrei at its optimal time must begin the recitation of the Shema a bit before sunrise. Weiter. Also, okay, right. And also, the schar is so great, by the way, for those that that he's destined for Olam Haba and will not come to harm the entire single day. This is a very known thing. Continuing, the Al Kapam, in any case, the man must take care. Not to delay the time of saying past 1/4 of the day. The Bais Medresh must be completed by the end of that time, by the way, according to the Mishnah Berurah. Especially in the summer days, when the days are long in our country, but even though the days are long, at times the latest time to say Shema is before 7 o'clock in the morning. People tend to get up at the same time throughout the year, regardless of when sunrise occurs. In the summer, when sunrise is earlier, the end of the 3 hours is earlier than the winter, and therefore one must be careful to arise with enough time to say Shema before the latest time of reciting passes. You should know, on a side note, Australia and New Zealand have a different schedule, and this summer is our winter. So when it comes to that, they have an earlier sunrise in the winter time, which is our winter time, than our summertime here in America. For them it's winter. So based on this Shulchan Aruch, they have to also be careful to wake up earlier in this summer version as well. In the Kol Mokom, nevertheless, but the Eved in Avazman, at the time to say Shema did pass, and when he didn't say Shema yet, mutar l'kishma b'chaseo, mutar to recite Shema with its brachas ad shashayim until 1/3 of the day has passed, or until the end of the 4th hour of the day. Aval achar shashayim, after the 3rd of the day is passed, also lo brachas. It's also gomer to recite the brachas of Shema. Whereas one should say Shema only. And this could do it in the whole day. And some say the Gam HaBrachos Yochalim Kol Yom. Some say that the bus can also be said the entire day. The content be Chodosh. But this is actually contrary to the opinion of most authorities. However, there's an opinion that when circumstances beyond his control prevent that person from saying Shema and it's brachos, he can say until Chatzos. Like I said before in original shiur in the beginning, there are people on Einsim that's something else. But a person who does it constantly is not on Einsim anymore, and really should think over how they view davening, and they should really therefore daven earlier. One more Sif base. Mutar l'kos kishma b'yeshiva aimet. It's permitted to say kishma while it's either sitting or standing. The miyoshev, if one was sitting, also lachme l'valma. It's permitted to be machme and stand when he says it. I'm not going to read the it's getting late already because we also fill the meaning. Ava also l'kos kishi shochev. However, it's forbidden to say the Shema while lying down. Whether lying down on one's front or back, or even slightly, is improper, and it's really improper to just lie down and just Shema Yisrael. That's at night, but during the morning it's definitely a problem. If he began, he's really lying down. Yate es atzmai altzidin mamish v'iko. Shalin completely upon his side and say Shema. If he's slightly ill, and it's difficult for him to lie completely on his side. It's nevertheless obligated to lean somewhat upon his side. We shall continue this mitzvah next week. Let's continue with this. Tefillah with meaning. We're up to now. We're actually in the middle of chapter 14. We're going to read a little bit more of this chapter. We're not going to finish it most likely this week either. Probably going to finish it next week. Spiritual sustenance. The opportunity to daven can be viewed as food for our soul. Just as we eat food during the day to stay alive, we daven throughout the day to make sure our souls receive spiritual sustenance. We should feel that we need to daven. It should be hard to wait for the next chance to come to shul and daven again. Some people have the custom to daven mincha at the earliest time, so as to not delay the opportunity to speak to Hashem. Some people say, I'll daven later. They ain't daven past this man. Chassidim have a different minig, so I ain't shown that's their thing. But most people usually don't wait till Shkia. They try to daven as early as possible. When we realize that the purpose of Tefillah is to come close to Hashem and understand the special opportunity we have by davening to Him on a regular basis, the way we approach Tefillah will change. The concept of Tefillah is the opportunity to connect to Hashem is expressed in many psukim, many svarim. Also, much I'm going to learn also Tefillah Kelchosa, Isha Yisrael. We're going to be focusing also, Hashem, on the Pesha Milas down the road. The Zer Kodesh says that if one recognizes that the point of Tefillah is a connection with Hashem, his Tefillah will be impactful. Today, we have everything we need. This makes it more harder to connect with Hashem. And furthermore, some people are busy seeking connections on social media. We therefore need lectures about connecting to Hashem because it does not come easily. I think it was last week, so it's good to repeat it one more time. A personal connection. Shusha Pinkas Zatzel said that his favorite word in Shemoneh Esrei was Elokai, my God. This demonstrates that one has a special connection with Hashem, which should cause one to experience intense joy. It's truly mind-boggling to Hashem that is the creator of the universe, and yet we refer to Him as you. The Gemara, Maseches Brachos Daf Vav on the base, says that davening is one of the things that stand the heights of the world. Some commentators explain that this means davening should bring one to lofty levels of closeness with Hashem. By the way, you should know, and I'll read the notes here. Before beginning Shemoneh Esrei, it's advisable to think about before whom he's standing. When one stands before Him King, he thinks of all the words he will say. All the more so when we stand before Hashem. The halacha says in the Shulchan Aruch Chaim, which we'll also learn at a future date, that when we say Shemoneh Esrei, we should speak in a low voice. One who is speaking to someone next to him speaks in a low voice, since the one he is speaking to is close by. If the person he's speaking with is far away, he must raise his voice. When we speak to Hashem during Shemoneh Esrei, we must realize that He is standing close by. Raising our voice at that time indicates that we don't believe Hashem is next to us when we daven. So the Shulchan Harav says in earlier years, pious people would spend a long time davening. They were concerned about losing time for learning Torah. Although Torah is the most important. Through Tefillah, they experienced a connection with Hashem that they couldn't have achieved otherwise, and they weren't willing to pass up this unique opportunity. Although we may not be on the level to spend so much time davening, in order to come close to Hashem, we must do our part. Every tefillah is the most important, and we should be recited with deep feeling. And when we daven, Hashem is in front of us, literally in front of us. Think of it this way: Hashem is in front of us, and this is your chance to speak to Hashem. This realization will totally change our davening. When does a person shout? There are two instances when this happens. When one wishes to talk to his friend and he's not listening, he shouts to catch his attention. The second kind of shouting is when one's friend is on the other side of the road. If he does not catch him in time, he will miss talking to him. If one were able to speak in a normal tone of voice, his friend wouldn't be able to hear him. It will be absurd to shout to Hashem because we think we aren't listening. Since we know He hears our tefillahs, He also answers them even if we don't realize it. And by any case, this type of shouting is unnecessary. The second type of shouting, when our friend will miss us if we don't shout, is also not applicable since Hashem hears us even without shouting. This is why the halacha dictates that we don't need to raise our voices when davening. If we would realize that Hashem is here with us, when we daven, we will talk to Him just like we talk to the members of our household who are right in front of us. We're going to go a drop longer at this time, and we'll be done momentarily. So how can we make a request? How are we able to make requests to Hashem? The following mashal emphasizes this question. A father was very generous with his child who gave him all the money he needed. But a big fight broke out between them, and the son killed the father. The son was sentenced to life in prison, but he requested of the judge not to punish him since he was an orphan. What a disgrace for the son to say this, since he made himself an orphan with his own two hands. So how do we have the chutzpah to daven before Hashem? We come to Hashem with all kinds of requests for health, wealth, nachas, parnasa, shidduchem, children, and so on. However, one of the reasons Hashem holds back these things is because of our actions. It would therefore be incorrect to ask for these things. If you were to put ourselves in danger, how can we ask to be saved? In the same vein, how can we have the nerve to make requests of Hashem? And finally, for this week, the heter to daven. We take for granted the fact that we can daven, and after all, human beings are not allowed to visit regularly with kings. On the other hand, how can a person not daven? One who takes davening seriously faces this dilemma. How can one daven and how can one not daven? At the beginning of Shemini Esrei, we say, Hashem, open my lips, as if to say, I am standing here unable to daven. I am waiting for you, Hashem, to open my lips. Our answer to daven is based on the three principles. We have no choice other than to ask for our needs, since it's natural for a human being. The second principle is that there is a historical precedence to daven. Long before there was a siddur, people davened. Speaking to Hashem is an age-old concept. The third principle is kabolos. The purpose of sacrificing a carbon was to bring one closer to Hashem. Today, Tefillah accomplishes the same goal. Additionally, we should recognize that Hashem, in His infinite mercy, showers us with whatever we request, even though we don't truly deserve it. He gives us for free. We're able to ask Hashem for anything because He is full of ruach achamim. We'll stop here. Maybe should help and schos should be to continue to build on the mindset of changing the way we daven. Teach our kids daven as well. Have a wonderful night.